Great. So welcome everyone to another one of our incredible, inspiring, hopefully uplifting monthly My Speaker Business community calls. And for most of you have been here with us before, so you know the rules of the game. But for everyone that is joining us for the first time, as you know, these are calls where we would love to share with you practical hints and tips from our guest experts that you can apply right away to make your speaking business flourish further. You can also ask your personal questions on how to step up with your speaking business in any way, shape, or form. So this is a space for that. It's a space for you to connect with other professional speakers. Also, if you have any kind of high priority projects right now that you would love to share, please share them with us in the chat and get support from each other. And also, as some of you already, I know some of you are having lunch. It's lunchtime here in Europe. For our American friends, it's morning. Some of them join us even before breakfast. So just take a break and have fun with us on these calls. And as you know, we want to make these calls your calls. So let's make them interactive. Whenever you have any questions, put them into the chat or, unmute yourself and share with us. But when you're not speaking, please mute yourself so we have a sparkling recording for everyone to listen in afterwards as well. Okay? So what is our topic today? Well, we'll talk about brand healing secrets. How to make your speaking brand truly unique in the world, because, and I think this is such an important topic because the world of speaking really gets more and more crowded. So many people feel that they have a powerful message to share. Yes, there's a lot of stage time opportunities out there, and still people compete for them, for the most prestigious ones anyhow. And not many really earn high speaking fees. But there's one thing that really makes the top speakers stand out in great ways, and that is that they stand out. They are visible, they are perceived in a unique way. They have a powerful brand. And wherever they go, because of their brand, their appearance, what they say, how they say things, how they appear, how they show up, they're recognized everywhere. No matter if they go and step up on a stage, or if they go to networking events, or if they show up in a YouTube video or on social media or anywhere else, they're easily recognizable. And that makes them stand out. And because they stand out, they get booked again and again. So branding is an important topic, not only in business in general, but really especially for speakers as well, to make you stand out and become unique. And this is why today I have invited a really, really great friend of mine. We know each other. We are both members of a platform called the Network for Transformational Leaders. He has just moved from sunny California into sunny Spain. So we have him here in Europe right now, which I'm really happy to know that we will be doing magic together here in Europe now and even, beyond. And he's really a leading brand expert and inventor of the Resonant Brand methodology. And, his client list, in a way, reads like the who is who in the business world and, a speaker and trainer world. He has developed and implemented digital brand strategies for companies and experts like Time Warner, Microsoft, Disney, AT&T, for leading authorities in the training and motivational speaker world, like Jack Canfield, also music like Carlos Santana, you might have heard. Okay, there's a lot of people he's worked with, Michael Beckwith and many others. And this is why I'm really thrilled to have him here with us today and share his secrets on how you can create a unique, outstanding brand as a speaker and sparkle on more stages this way. So welcome with me, Brooks Cole. Brooks.
Oh my God.
So amazing to have you with us.
What an incredible introduction. It's so wonderful to see you, Monique, and to be here with you. And yes, I'm less than 2 weeks off the boat from California to Barcelona, which I fell in love with when I was a 9th grader on a school trip with my Spanish class. It was the first time I'd ever been out of the United States, and I arrived in Europe and I became an instant convert. And at the tender age of 15, put on my bucket list, move to Europe at some point in your life. So here I am.
Here you are, and now we're going to rock it here. Okay, so tell us a little bit about You know, why don't we jump right into it, Brooks? You know what? You know, how do how do people really find and resonate the core DNA of their brand essence in every speech they give? How do they find what makes them uniquely them? You know, so they can use it in every speech, every video, every podcast, you know, wherever they go, whatever they create, so that the audience cannot get enough of them. How do you create this powerful, outstanding, unique, one in the world brand?
Well, I prepared a little
Especially as a speaker.
presentation.
Yeah.
I've prepared a little presentation that
Yay, I know you do. You always
But
share.
I'd like to point out first that our fabulous hostess, this extraordinary Monique, is a perfect example of a resonant speaker and a resonant brand. This you can hear in her voice, you can see in her luminance, you can feel basically in the transmission that how much she cares and how much she invites you to step onto the stage and into your presence. And that is essentially the essence of what I'm calling the resonant brand. You know it's there, and let's talk about where it comes from and how you can find it. So do you want to start the sharing, or I'll start the sharing?
Well, the slides are on your side, so you have to share.
Okay.
Yay.
Can you see my screen?
At the moment, I see a black screen. It worked earlier. We've tested it. Okay. So this is some interesting insight for everyone here. No matter how many times you test something.
I get it. Hang on a second. I think I know what's going on.
Okay. So. I guess you might just say keynote line or something, or play, or of course you're creative. You have an Apple computer.
So which, let's see. I think I'm going to move Zoom over to the other.
I love all these colors in here.
Yes, I have.
It already shows that you're creative.
I have a very colorful environment. Okay, I'll move you over here. I think Zoom thinks that I will be sharing from the...
This looks like a very sophisticated technical screen that you just shared with us. Okay. While you're getting this up, why don't we just engage everyone that's here with us today? You know, maybe just share with us, you know, what questions do you have around branding, or what would you have wanted to know around branding in the past? And we can start with that. And maybe also, you know, do you feel you already have a solid brand? Where are you with branding? And what would you like to know, or what would you like to learn, or what would you like to take away from this session to help you to create this unique, outstanding brand for yourself? Sabine, Elizabeth, Helinde, Dirk, anyone? Yeah, go ahead, Sabine.
Well, I'm pretty much at the beginning of my speaker's career, let's say. I just joined Toastmasters. And I think it's all connected, you know, the message for my activity, for my business. And I think it's really cool when you find that one message that kind of distinguishes you. But I think it's not that easy because, for example, I have a lot of things I talk about or I tackle in my work. And then to find that the one that would kind of distinguish me feels like difficult.
Great. So that's one of your questions. How do I find my message that makes me unique? Okay. Good.
Can you see my screen now?
Now we see it. And is there anyone else that would like to share something up front? Otherwise we start going, and you can still also in the chat anytime put in your questions. Yes? Anyone wants to share anything right now? Okay. It doesn't look like it, Brooke, so I suggest you take over, you rock it, and any questions that come up along the way, we will address them as we go. Sounds good?
I love it.
I love your slide already.
There's two essential messages that I'm talking about here. One is the fundamental idea that branding and speaking and fully inhabiting yourself is a form of resonance. And the other side of the equation is that most people, their brands are actually not well. They need a brand doctor to tune up the brand or even to start from scratch. So I'm combining healing and resonance here. You know, the first time I ever had the opportunity to begin to speak publicly was when I was in school, and I was, my first election, I lost miserably, but it was the only election I ever lost. It was in 7th grade. And then I figured out how to come across in the speeches that you had to give before the student body. So I remember the fear. A lot of people say that the fear of public speaking is worse for some people than the fear of death. But you can feel it, like even people that are accomplished, you know, you've got the butterflies, you've got energy that is actually in your body when you are about to step on stage. And I think we can all resonate with this little girl who's about to come out onto the stage in front of all these people. What she is doing is she's experiencing this extraordinary energy, and it can be experienced as fear, or once you get going and once you're received and loved and people actually understand that you're connecting with them, that you're a real human being and they're rooting for you, and then you start to convert this energy that was originally considered to be fear into confidence. So any speaker has felt this, and speakers that really crush it have managed to just turn the engine of energy in the relationship with the audience into confidence that then resonates back and forth and turns into an extraordinary connection with the audience, which is what we all crave when we both speak to others and we see others speak to us. So what resonates? Friends resonate, and these are some of my closest friends in the world. And really, part of the reason I moved to Europe from America is that my soul resonance with all my friends in the Network for Transformational Leaders, which is exactly where I met Monique, just pulled me, literally magnetically pulled me from the States, where I've lived my whole life. But my heart resonance center was being pulled to all of these extraordinary connections, heartfelt, direct, beautiful connections that I have with my European friends. And I've now got a bunch of them, but one of my favorites in the whole world is our hostess with mostest, Monique. I adore Monique, and I also deeply admire her. I admire her story, and I admire her quest. I admire what she's doing in the world, including things like this, offering to the world ways to step into yourself and have impact in the world. And I adore you, Monique, and I'm very grateful for you having me here. So I was asked to produce branding for the Network for Transformational Leaders. So I'll give you just a case study of how I work. So it's a network of these extraordinary speakers and authors and trainers who are, you know, just all manner of sectors. There's a Dr. Voice who's worked with some of the most extraordinary singers in the world to help them get past the glass ceiling of their voices. That's really not anatomical, it's a soul barrier. And he helps them breathe into and go beyond the soul issue. We have a guy who has worked with 8 US presidents, who's one of my clients, who basically is trying to bring mindfulness meditation to veterans who are suffering from PTSD. There's all these extraordinary people. And I was asked to create the brand for the Network for Transformational Leaders. So I went to the soul seed of what is a network. And I looked at the history of networking and found out about Metcalfe's law back in the 1980s. This was the idea that you have a bunch of nodes in a network, like a telephone network, and each new node that you add, each person that you add to the network augments the power of that network yet again by the addition of that person. But then Reed's law started to come into just after the internet became truly significant in the birth of Google and all of that stuff. And that is that not only the nodes of a network are connected, but the collectives and the pairs and the triads and the groups within a network can connect to all the other groups in the network, thus making the network even more powerful than Metcalfe understood it to be. And we're living in a time when networking is literally changing the world. It's changing our brains, it's changing our schooling, our governance, it's changing everything. So this is the brand that I created for the Network for Transformational Leaders. And it's an example of a resonant brand where the actual idea behind what the premise, the soul seed of what is being offered by this organization, which is that each of these extraordinary speakers and authors and teachers are connected to each of the others and can be connected to each of the others and groups of the others in order to enhance their abilities to come up, to up level, to make connections, to expand their businesses and to expand their friendships. And that is all embedded in the resonant depiction of this particular brand. So I've worked with some pretty amazing speakers and authors and trainers. In my early career, I was working for a lot of big companies. And at a certain point, I realized these companies are making more and more and more money, but they're not necessarily changing the world in making the world a better place. So I started becoming attracted to working with people that are truly transformationalists, people who are dedicated to the betterment of individuals and the betterment of the world. One of my favorite customers ever is Jack Canfield. He was called the publishing phenomenon of the 90s. You may know about Chicken Soup for the Soul, which became this huge encyclopedia of chicken soup books, each of which was curated by a brand new transformationalist that Jack and his partner elevated to global status. And Jack asked me to take a look at, despite his success, his brand was basically all over the place. It was like a lot of noise. And what he needed was consolidation and connection in a laser-like focus that I refer to as brand resonance. So what I did is I worked with him to figure out what his primary essence was. And he was a high school teacher. Before he became this extraordinary multimillionaire, America's top success teacher, he was actually a high school teacher. And he was a really, really good one. He was like everybody's favorite high school teacher. And I realized that essence, his ability to be with any individual person and make them feel like they're the only person in the world and really tap into the potential of their possibility as a human, that was the essence of success for him, was advancing an individual, one human at a time. And that idea was about a compass. It was about the idea that there's a true north in everybody that guides their life, and that Jack's ability to help them with their success is the ability to help them tune in to what their true north is, which is maximizing human potential. I worked with Gary Zukav, who is a top-selling speaker and author. Oprah has described his book, Seed of the Soul, as being the most powerful and important book she ever read. So when he approached me, he needed complete soup to nuts branding. He needed a new website. He needed new product looks. He needed a cover for his new book. And I found that the essence of his brand was the soul resonating. He was really talking about the seat of the soul. I worked with Carlos Santana. He's just an extraordinary man. He's actually kind of like a shaman. When you ask him a question, when you're in his presence, you ask him a deep question, he stops himself for a moment. And then he tunes in. You can see him actually lift his eyes up, and he tunes into source, just like he does when he plays the guitar. And he brings it down. He brings the answers down through the passion of his connection to source into whatever he says, so that working with him to produce websites and looks and feels and brands was just a matter of tuning into the way he actually plays guitar and shows up as a human being in what he's calling Architects of the New Dawn. And you may know Michael Bernard Beckwith. He's a member of the Transformational Leadership Council. Extraordinary, one of the most moving preachers I have ever listened to in my entire life. He can bring down the energy like Martin Luther King, like some of the greatest preachers in the world, but he makes it inclusive. He manages to get everyone who is connected to source by any way they call it, to basically feel it. He brings it into the room. And in this case, he created an extraordinary compilation of an event that had a book, it had CDs, it had DVDs, it had music, etc. And I was asked to produce the branding for all of it. And the resonant spirit branding was The Answer Is You. So this is my basic message today, that when you resonate with yourself and your brand resonates with you, then your brand resonates with your audience. Now, this is something that all speakers know, because you are either connecting with your audience or you're not when you're in a live setting. But what I learned when I spent several months with this particular individual who had wrote essentially the Gray's Anatomy of subtle anatomy. And if you don't know what subtle anatomy is, everybody knows that the human body in its physicality has been mapped forever, like to the deepest level. But not everybody knows that, as Tagore said, you are not in your body is in you. That beyond your physicality, there is an extraordinary body of energy, like a cell that you are in the middle of. And you may have seen Tibetan depictions of the rainbow body, or halos, or energy emanating in various depictions of saints, etc. The truth is that I learned how to heal people with this energy modality, that we are sitting in the center of a gorgeous cell of energy that you can feel. You can feel it, you can feel others, you can feel your own. And I learned how to diagnose people whose energies were not vibrant, or were lopsided, or they had karmic events or wounds stuck in their energy, etc. I learned how to discern and listen to and find and balance those places under the teaching of this extraordinary individual. And then, instead of actually applying that in as an energy healer, which is really not what I'm up to, I'm applying it in brand science. And I'm basically saying that if you want to be able to impact others at an extraordinary level and speak and have people just riveted, hanging on every word that you say, and if you want to imbue your books and your courses and your content with that kind of power, then you need to start with the basic fundamental truth brought forward by Nikola Tesla, that if you want to understand the universe, you have to think of energy, frequency, and vibration, because basically everything in the universe is made out of not only energy, but vibrating energy. And this is true about the way you come across to your audience. So this is something that I've learned about speaking, watching the most amazing speakers in the world. And I had a client, Richard Green, who wrote a book that I helped him design called Words That Shook the World. And he explored the greatest speeches in history that we have access to. And based on his NLP training, came to the conclusion that speaking is really a form of energy transmission, where you are connecting with your audience across the 4 primary modalities of NLP. If you're probably familiar with this, but basically these pictures are the same glass of milk subjected to different frequencies. And depending upon the frequency, this is the frequency science of cymatics that you may be familiar with. This is really what's going on in the universe, and is what's going on in your connection with your audience, whether you're speaking from a stage, or you're speaking through YouTube on a video, or you're coming across on Instagram, or you're infusing your book or your short film or your movie or your course with your energy. You are resonating your audience in a direct connection with them, and you are either connecting with them and really resonating them up, or you're not. But not everybody's the same. And the best speakers in the world, Richard Green found, are the ones that can hit all the notes. The visual, like picture this. This is my imagination. This is a vision I'd like to bring in the room. Auditory. What does it sound like? It sounds true. It rings a bell. Kinesthetic and emotional. Do you feel it? They use words that make you feel what it is that's being transmitted. And auditory digital, which is essentially logic and facts. And some people are really good at one or two of these modalities, but truly extraordinary persuasive speakers and people who inhabit their brands, they hit all these at the same time. And that means that no matter who's in the audience and what their primary modality is, the complete picture of that resonance energy transmission is happening, and you're resonating the audience. So I'm just going to stop for a moment and then see if there are any questions, or if Monique wants to say anything.
Well, I love what you're sharing here with us. You know, my question to you would be like, you're saying it's important to actually play all of these four at the same time. Can you just give an example, you know, also specifically when we want to create our brand? How do we apply this?
So when branding is essentially the mastery of language that forms a conversation. So there's one way. You guys have been through Monique's extraordinary speaker training. So you know that speaking is not a one-way interaction. Speaking is a conversation. When you think it's a one-way interaction, then you think of it as a performance, which brings in the fear. You're either going to fail or succeed at a performance. But in a conversation, the energy is going both ways. And then you're engaged in a connection where you're bringing people along, you're guiding them, basically, through a story. And they're hanging on the images of that story, the sounds of the story, the feelings of the story, and the logic or the persuasive quality of the story. So I have a dream. Martin Luther King, one of the greatest speeches of all time. He was bringing in a visual, using the visual of this dream of a future that he wanted his children to see and feel, that they would be judged not by the color of their skin, but by the content of their character. And he brought that in across the reflecting pool, and all the people who were gathered there in an incredibly strong visual language. People could see, because he was so descriptive of the visuals, people could see him surrounded by his children surrounded by people, and the people judging the children by the content of their character and not the color of their skin. In an auditory way, some of the things that you're bringing into the room. And by the way, so what I'm talking about is speaking is branding, and branding is speaking. Monique, for example, right now, she is an incredible expert in business building, and she's an incredible expert in speaking. She has a lot of speakers that are her clients that need to learn how to build a business. And she has a lot of business leaders that need to learn how to speak. But basically, when she puts this together, there is an alchemical marriage of the two that recognizes that if you're going to be a leader in the world of anything, you have to be able to speak into your resonant brand and your resonant message. It's the same thing. There's no difference. Of course, you have to create the processes and the support mechanisms to succeed in business, but you have to infuse everything that you do and say and all your processes and everyone you hire and every way you connect with your customers with that same resonance of what you believe, what it looks like, what it sounds like, why it makes sense, what it feels like. So that's basically what I'm saying, is that the imagery that you use, the mythology that's embedded in your brand, because every brand is basically a myth that you're inviting your customer to step into a mythological world, and like any great mythic epic, become the protagonist in that world. And the more sensory rich the imagery, the colors, the language, the invitation, the persuasion, the all these facets, the more they cohere together in a resonant way, the more senses that you invoke and hit, the deeper it goes into the being, and before you know it, you have someone who's loyal for life to your brand. And people ask, because everybody sort of feels it, it's true. Not everybody is Apple. Not everybody is these great brands that took years and years to build. Everybody wants to know how to heal the brand and make it stronger. And the fundamental thing I want to bring today is that branding, everybody kind of thinks, people confuse a logo with branding, or colors with branding, or your website with branding. These things are all downstream from the truth about branding, which is that branding is essentially finding your core essence of who you are, which I refer to as the soul seed, and amplifying that, finding the language from it, finding the story and the mythology around it. And if your brand is weak or out of kilter, or doesn't feel authentic, or isn't having the impact that it needs, is because you haven't dug deep enough into who you really are and why you're doing what you're doing, why you're on the earth. So you may call source by many names, or you may not refer to it, but I'm here to tell you that the essence of branding is to get down to the very essence of your soul seed that was planted by source. This doesn't have to be a religious idea, but for some people it is. You need to start with your soul seed. So people talk about purpose work. What is your purpose? You probably, as an advisor to others, are in the business of helping other people find their purpose. My experience is that everybody's unique purpose, everybody's unique soul seed is a frequency. You can hear it. What I found in my healing work, my teacher could see inside bodies. She could see outside of bodies. She could see your aura. She could see all of the parts of you. She could see your soul egg with her eyes since she was a little girl. I couldn't do that. I could imagine it. The more I learned about the energy of the soul, I could imagine all these layers and all the chakras and all the pumping and all of that stuff. It's amazing. It's like the inner anatomy, except that it's outside, hovering around your body. But what I could do is I learned that I could hear when someone was out of balance, and I could hear my own frequency, my own self. And in times of meditation, I'm sure you've experienced this. Basically, when everything else is quiet, and you go into deep silence, I think this is the big payoff of deep meditation. You can hear yourself. You can hear your primary frequency of who you are and why you're here. And when you get to that, you've found the seed of what you can bring forward in terms of your brand. So I'll be talking about this a little bit later, but a partner and I have this method that we call resonant branding. And we have a fun little quiz that allows you to find out what your soul genius is. And we see that as kind of, you knew this when you were little. You had things that you loved to do when you were little. Your mother knew who you were from the moment you were born. And all mothers basically say the personality is intact at the moment of birth, and that child grows, but their soul essence was there at the beginning, and it just gets bigger and better and more beautiful. But we found that there are different types, different archetypes of the soul genius that then can be amplified for the brand. And so I will give you the URL later so that you can take this little quiz and find out if it speaks to you, whether you're a visionary, a rebel, a unifier, or a steward, are the archetypes that we found. But so you have this seed, which is really where you came from, why you're on the planet. It's your place of passion. And if you probably know this already, but if you don't, that's where to start digging. And then once you have that seed, the next thing that happens to a seed, which can stick around for a long time, but then it gets activated by water and sun and earth. And when the soul seed starts growing, it starts heading in a direction. So you came here to this planet with a purpose. Where are you pointing that purpose? Where are you directing your gift? And I refer to this in the metaphor, in this mythology, as the sun, phototropism, and the earth, geotropism. When a seed starts growing, no matter what direction it's in, when it's in the soil, it starts righting itself and aligning towards the sun and towards the earth. And in the mythology of knowing yourself and branding yourself accordingly, this is, where is the sun for you? Where are you pointing the essence of who you are and the gifts that you're bringing? And I'm here to tell you that just as you can hear the frequency of your soul seed, you can feel where you are drawn to give your gifts. And you can feel where you're supported by the ground underneath you, by your background, by your parents and your education and your friends, and all of the life's lessons that you've experienced. All of that is part of the soil and the sun of where you're going to point your brand. Once you get a handle on it, you can feel it. Now, this is the part that I find that people really gloss over, and it's really the soul of any kind of marketing, but it's especially the soul of expert marketing or forming a speaker brand. And that is, who are you really reaching out to? And most people that haven't really done the work, they want to impact everybody. They want to speak to everybody, but that you can't make a difference for everybody. You really have to know who it is that's drawn to this soul seed in this direction that you have. And when you do that, when you get a handle, and we have a method called Avatar GPS. It's basically like a game. It's like a map. You know that there are certain people who are drawn to your work, and they're not all the same. Some of them are very accomplished, and they need you for more specific things. Others are just starting out, and they need you for the starting out parts, and everybody in between. When you're building a business and some of your customers are extremely well-heeled and you're directing a mastermind, these people are incredibly professionally accomplished, and money is not their object. Your knowledge, access to your knowledge and wisdom is their object. When you get them all together, that can be a huge part of your speaker business. Then there's the intake of people that are kind of just starting out, or they're in early stages of their career, or they just became an entrepreneur and they need to know what to do. Once you figure out what are their ages, what are their occupations, what are their genders, what are their professional needs, where are they stuck, what are their motivations in life, what happened to them, and what is their soul seed, what are they trying to bring, you can grow your brand like a tree of knowledge out towards these very specific individuals, and you can reach out to them and provide them content, wisdom, connection, and resonance. And that is what grows the resonant brand of your knowledge tree. And you already know who they are. They're already showing up. However, some of them, you may not have stepped up to serve them yet because you're not quite sure that you're up to the task, but you certainly will be. Now, here's where, once you establish the brand connection to yourself, to your customers, once you have a sense of really what I'm passionate about and here to share, then in comes the modern brand marketing method, which is just an embarrassment of riches, as you know. People that are truly passionate, that are truly connected with the people that they serve, can create events and articles and stories and video and podcasts and products and trainings and all the rest, and make an extraordinary business out of the fruits of their tree of knowledge. So the seed becomes a sprout, grows into a trunk, splits off into branches. The branches reach out towards specific kinds of people and offer them fruits that show up in the form of content marketing. And I'm here to tell you that the success method of the modern speaker business, speaker professional, really anybody that is in the public sphere that's out there serving people, the game is about creating an orchard of fruit that attracts people, that nourishes people, that spreads the seeds of your transmission, some of which you can give away for free and some of which you can charge whatever you want for when they are truly resonating, truly nourishing, and really intended for the benefit of specific people. And in this modern age of everything is out in plain sight, success leaves clues, your fruits, the fruits of your mind and your heart and your generosity are there to be found and there to be seen, and they're known by the data, and they're known by the visitors and the likes and the shares and all of the modern elements of the digital landscape. The game is on, and the game is building an orchard where each of your fruits gets passed on to all of the others, some of whom become trainers that you train, who pass on your knowledge. And this is the way to build an extraordinary and fruitful speaker business. Monique, are you there?
Yes, absolutely. I'm listening. I'm taking all in. Lots of seeds of inspiration. I love the approach you're taking to branding, and we do get some questions. Are you ready to answer some questions?
I am absolutely ready to answer a question.
Okay, so we have a question from Elizabeth asking, how do you work to help people find their resonant brand? Like, what process do you have? And I think, as you were guiding us through, you already shared with us to a certain extent, but maybe you want to add something.
So it depends on where you are right now. But one way to start is to take the little quiz and kind of get the juices flowing and figure out how friendly you are with the essence of what we're calling your soul genius. So if you go to resonantbrand.com, we have a little quiz and you take it and it's kind of fun. And the basic idea is that when you were a kid and you didn't have to go to work, and everything was bounded by your imagination and what you loved, there were clues about the message and the brand and the dharma that you would have later in life. So if you take this little quiz, that's one way to start. And at the end of it, we offer a free session, basically, where you can experience a little bit of insight into, answering some questions about where you are in your business, how far along you are, what the scale is, and how well you know yourself. Once you get to that point, then there's an infinite number of possibilities for scaling up the ladder, building the business. I'm just going to leave this up for a moment. You can Skype me anytime at HoloBoy. ResonantBrand.com is this Resonant Brand methodology. And then my branding work, professional branding work, is at my company's site, holocosmos.com. And I'm going to stop branding here so I can actually look at people and answer some questions.
Perfect. I don't know, Elizabeth, did that answer your question, or do you want to ask more around how Brooks works with people to create their unique resonant brand?
Well, I think that was a good start. And I heard as he was progressing through, because I asked the question very early.
Yes.
As you asked for questions. So I think I'll investigate these and then maybe connect afterwards. Thank you.
Perfect.
So let me also say that the resonant brand is kind of like it's like a fun little way to just get going. But when I work with professional clients, basically what we do is we start mapping where we're at. I think of everything as a map problem. This is I have a patent in information science called a method and apparatus for the visual navigation of information objects, which actually it's a form of next generation futuristic user interface and ways of organizing knowledge. And I think of organizing your life, organizing your brand, organizing your business, organizing your customers in the same way. It's a map problem. Where am I? Where am I going? What's in the way? Who's along the way? Who can join me in the quest? It's kind of like the Lord of the Rings. You gather your tribe, and there's you can see the mountain off in the distance, and now we're going to have an adventure. It's a little bit like that, and you need to know what are you carrying? Who are your friends? Where are you going? Where are you on the map now? How far is it? What are your goals? And so the way I do the brand science is you would know it almost as an extension of coaching. Basically, I'm not a formally trained coach, but what I've learned is everybody who's doing branding of any kind needs a coach. They basically need encouragement. They need to understand where to start and what they're missing and what they've got that they didn't know they had. And it's like a journey, like going on a magical quest. And if you do it in the right spirit, it's the most gratifying, lucrative, and spiritually uplifting thing that you can do. Your brand is a mirror of how you feel about yourself. I don't mean to. I'm not a trained psychologist, but I can basically say that my entire life of practicing commercial communications and communication design, I realize it's basically a form of applied psychology. It's like the psychology of what's inside you, and it's of course the psychology of your customers and what they need and what what language they use. And we are often tempted to use our extraordinary language that we've learned over years and years of study with customers that have no idea what we're talking about. And we need to remember that we have to use the language that they have, the questions they're asking, and then find them where they are and meet them and then take them by the hand and bring them along this journey.
Beautiful. Okay, so there was another question from Herlinda as well. I understand that my brand has to be based on my inner truth, who I am inside and so on. How do I have to integrate the outside world, like trends and so on? I don't know if you understand the question or if you want Herlinda to say more.
Yeah, would you like to clarify your question? I think you're muted.
Yes.
There we go.
Yeah, I am. So I'm very inspired. So thank you so much. You very much speak to my heart. And for me, I understand that connecting to myself is the start, understanding who I am. And right now I struggle a little bit. How much do I have to, understand how I resonate with the outside world? I mean, I'm with you saying, okay, I know what's resonating with me by branding, but I feel like this branding might be a journey, or where to, at which point in time do I take that resonance from the outside world into my branding? Because I have to step out and be a brand when I start. So I have a struggle in maybe you can help me there to put it into the right order. Or
Absolutely.
do I have to rebrand someday after I have realized the resonance from the outside world is maybe not totally resonating with what I am? So, I mean, I'm a little bit, I'm confused.
You have asked such excellent questions. So the reason for the metaphor of the seed and the sprout and the trunk and the branches and the fruit is that it builds in an order that I've found that if you get the order out of order, if you start like, oh, well, just, I know who my customers are, I'm going to just start hurling fruit at them, and you haven't gone back to the source of it, what happens is that the brand that you end up producing isn't really authentic to you. So when you get up on stage and you start speaking about this thing, it doesn't ring true. Now, but to speak to what are we getting from the outside world? What's so great about the now is that the resonance, as you know, it's like, you know this place, if you ever sing in the shower or sing in the tub, there's this place in the shower where it reverberates. Have you experienced that? There's like a little sweet spot, and it's kind of like, oh, that's like, now I sound really good, and then you start singing in the shower.
Yeah.
In the modern world, that feedback loop comes in the form of shares, likes, organic traffic visits to your website. It's all data. Mm-hmm. So it's easy to be overwhelmed by or even uninterested in the analytics that social media and web activity are bringing us. But the better way to think about it, especially as a speaker, when you're on stage, you can see people's faces. You can see whether you're connecting. You can stop and you can pace yourself. And then when they start to laugh, you've got the channel. That's like the sweet spot in the shower where you're getting the feedback. In social media, or with the stuff that you're sharing, the feedback is these numbers. It's the data. And you can use these numbers when you make friends with them and understand they're just energy. It's just a feedback loop. You can use examination of those numbers first by looking at other people who are maybe approximately in your niche, that are really crushing it out there, that are very successful. You can do Google searches, and I teach this method to all of my clients. When the way to create a content marketing stream is to figure out what you're saying, who you're saying it to, and then go look out there and do Google searches and do YouTube searches and do Instagram searches and see who's popping up and examine the frequency of what is succeeding. Not that you're going to imitate it, but you're going to find the channel, and then you're going to figure out where you can be better than that. and where you see they're not connecting with people that you want to connect with. So you can use tools like Uber Suggest. I don't know if you're familiar with that. Uber Suggest is an analytics tool for organic analysis of blog traffic and websites, and you can see the frequencies and the resonance of different topics, different headlines, different I know that we jumped from what was essentially kind of a spiritual branding lecture into now what sounds like data science. But the truth is, they're basically the same thing. They're just a different way of looking at how effective are you being at connecting with the people that you really want to touch. And in this day and age, if you sort of demystify the technical aspect and learn how to use a simple free tool like Uber Suggest, or another good one is called Answer the Public. It's not free, but it's very valuable, because what it does is it allows you to see what questions are people asking that you can answer. So let me make, I don't know where we are in our timing, but let me make a quick appeal towards what has changed about getting noticed on the web, and what of the social platforms or Google or et cetera you should actually use. Here's the big new secret. We are all hurtling towards this point where we think, oh, we're all awesome because we have these phones and everybody's like glued to them, and maybe there's an addiction issue. But in 10 years, what Google knows is the device will almost be invisible. What will stick around is the relationship between you and your question and the great oracle in the sky. And Google is basically positioning itself, and it already is, the great oracle that answers all questions. And we will be like crazy people walking around on the street having conversations with invisible people that are artificial intelligence agents of Google and others answering our questions. But who's doing the answering? We as leaders and experts are going to be answering those questions through Google. You'll ask your customer will ask a question, or your potential customer will ask a question, either by typing it in or more likely by saying it out loud into a microphone. And then what will pop up, if you're on your game, is your answer to that question. So your blogs, your videos, everything that you're putting out there in the world, understand where it's going is you are there to answer the questions that people you want to serve are asking. And understanding what those questions are, the psychology of those questions, is the new game. It's no longer about tricking the search engine and making it believe that you are authoritative. It's now so advanced that it's literally about you being extremely good at answering questions that are keeping people up at 3 a.m. in the morning. And when you figure out what those questions are, who's asking them, connect them with who you want to serve, these branches that I've described, then you actually don't have to spend a lot of money using ads. You can simply because Google is providing all of these answers to people for free, and it's associating people who are asking questions with people who are answering them well. And by organic search alone, you can crush it out there as an expert in the questions that you want to answer that people are asking. Does that answer your question at all?
I love that you opened up that big world for me. And I understand that it's all about energy. And I have to go out and show my energy to get resonance. So this is what I understand. And I was not aware of that support with the technique. So thank you so much. And I totally get your point that this is nothing different. It is totally the same, as you say. So thank you for that insight. I'm really excited.
Oh, wonderful. I'm so glad. That's an excellent question that you asked. Thank you very much.
Great. So I didn't see any other questions coming in.
Oh,
I think
can
Sabina.
I?
Oh, Sabina, yeah, go ahead.
Well, actually, I don't have a question, but I would like to share something because I'm a lot into energy. I work as a facilitator, and I'm very sensitive and empathetic. And I just wanted to share that what stick to me a lot, besides the useful information and the outlook to the future, which is really interesting and kind of intriguing, a bit of scary as well. But anyway, I mean, you need to stretch, so otherwise you're not growing, of course. But what I just felt the whole call through is a feeling of well-being. And what I so love is that, you know, you meet people, and when you're sensitive to their energy field, then you kind of understand where they're coming from. I mean, a narcissist has a different feeling in me than someone who is in love, for example, you know. And what I just find so inspired of you, Brooke, is that you are so calm and so settled within yourself. You really, really know who you are, and you so know your message. And that is so inspiring because it comes so natural. And you use the word organic several times. So, and I just imagine myself in aligning myself so deeply with who I am to find the words to communicate that to the world. That it is impossible that people will not resonate with that, because when it is so authentic, and that's also a bit maybe for Herlinde, I don't think that you have to think about how to align yourself with the trends or something, because there will be billions of people, and of these billions of people, when you are just living your authentic self, the ones that resonate with you the way you are will just find you, and you don't have to adjust yourself to any trends that are there, because you are then the trend maker, isn't it?
Truly. Well said.
Yeah. I love that.
So,
It's
and
cool.
thank you for that observation. I try to be calm. I'm not always this calm.
Well,
But I do, you know, the real law of attraction, people kind of just assume it, you know, it's happy thoughts, and then the boat and the car and the spouse will come to you. The real law of attraction is about the synchrony of frequencies.
yeah.
Right? You basically, you become what you behold. This is this fundamental resonance, exactly what you've just said, that by being who you truly are, that is the brand. The rest of it will just blossom from that essential space. And the reason why we're attracted to people that have an extraordinarily authentic, deeply resonant message is they're just being fully themselves. And we want that. I think when we're in the audience looking at a speaker who's masterful and rooting for them and being thrilled by their confidence, it's because we want to feel that way in ourselves. We want to feel really, truly aligned with who we are in such a way that we can just be like a fountain and just give of it naturally, because it's not an effort. It doesn't take any energy away to do that. So if you then keep going with that into what you speak about, what you write about, the videos and the podcasts and the appearances that you make, etc., that's the game. And I think it's the greatest journey of life. I think we're in an extraordinary time where we have the ability to touch the world, each of us, using this technology, but we have to fill those airwaves with truth and with magnetism and with goodwill and intention, because Lord knows there's plenty of the other stuff out there.
True. Thank you. That was so inspiring. Thank you.
Thank you for that question.
Good. Anyone else wants to jump in and still ask something, or shall we start rounding it off? I'm gonna give space. Okay. If not, it's been wonderful to have you all on. I have the honor and pleasure to talk to Brooks, and we've had a lot of amazing deep dive conversations already. And that's why I decided I should introduce him. I can't even find words to describe you, Brooks, but you're a branding genius. You are, a deep, beautiful, spiritual, incredible man. And you are so generous with sharing your wisdom and your insights and your processes and the tools you use, and at the same time you're so knowledgeable when it comes to all this technical stuff that I can't even start to understand. It's just a powerful combination, and I thought that we served all of you on this call and supported all of you, and if you just take this one hint away, and maybe it is something you cannot just grasp yet, but something that's kind of touched your subconscious mind somewhere, that one day you're going to wake up and you say, now I know what you spoke about, then we've done everything right. So it's been wonderful to have you all on the call, Sabine and Helinde and Dirk, Elizabeth and Omkar and everyone else. And first and foremost, thank you, Brooks, for spending your time with us, for coming here, sharing your wisdom, experience, insights so generously. And I'd love to give you the space to kind of round it off and share something. What inspirational message do you want to leave all these beautiful people and me with to round it off, our
First
call
of all,
today?
I just want to say how grateful I am to you, Monique, because as calm as I am, in this kind of milieu, it's time for me to be able to step back on stages in front of lots of people, and Monique is my teacher in that regard, and I can't wait to receive more of your incredible wisdom and insight about that. I'm available. I'm here in Barcelona, right down in in the middle of everything, and I am available to you. I would love to speak to any of you, have a free session with you, learn more about you and your businesses. I'm completely available for that. And I will just say that this is we think of speaking and branding and marketing and so forth all as if they're somehow artificial. And my last message would basically be, this is life as we know it now. Our essence, what we got born into, these incredible bodies, this is the most sophisticated technology there is. All that other stuff, a phone, is nothing compared to what we go around with in our hearts and in our heads every single day. And just jump into your complete fullness and give it to the world, and you will be discharging the grace of being in a body that we were all born with. So thank you so much for the time to hang out with you.
Thank you, Brooks. Thanks for being with us, everyone. Thank you, Brooks, for being with us. And again, next month we have another incredible call with another incredible guest. However, in the meantime, also hang out with Brooks here on the community. If you have any questions to him, Brooks, I know that you're happy to answer them over the next couple of days, right? So if anything still comes up for you, just share them on the community to the benefit for everyone as well. Our 850 whatever plus members would love to get a taste. Share as well, what did you take away from this session? How did it serve you? What insights came up to the benefit of everyone else? And I thank you, Brooks, for volunteering to answer some more questions over the next days. And let's just, again, stay in touch on the My Speaker Business community. Share, ask, inspire. We have new people joining us on a regular basis. So just tap into this incredible wealth of wisdom, insights, experience. Engage yourself there, ask your questions there, and we are here to help and support you. Okay? So thank you, everyone, for being on. Thanks, Brooks, and let's rock it. And next, we'll be in touch. Okay?
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Thank you.
Thank you,
Bye.
Brooks. Was very
Thank you.
Bye.
Helinde.